you can train your brain to feel calmer. Here's how. Have you ever wished you could just turn your thoughts off? You finally get into bed, the room is quiet, nothing is happening, and somehow your mind becomes louder than ever. You replay conversations. You worry about tomorrow. You remember something embarrassing from years ago. You imagine things that haven't even happened. And then you ask yourself, why can't I just stop thinking? Maybe you've tried distracting yourself. Maybe you've tried telling yourself, just relax. Maybe you've even wondered, what's wrong with me? But here's something I want you to understand. Your brain isn't necessarily broken, and having unwanted thoughts doesn't mean you're weak. Your brain is doing what it has learned to do. Think about it. If you repeatedly worry about something, your brain becomes very familiar with worrying. If you constantly check for danger, your brain becomes better at looking for danger. If you repeatedly replay negative situations, that pathway becomes easier to activate. But there's another side to this. Your brain can learn new patterns too, and this is where something called neuroplasticity becomes incredibly interesting. Your brain isn't completely fixed. Throughout life, the connections between neurons can change as you learn, practice, and repeatedly experience things. In other words, what you repeatedly practice matters. So what if instead of constantly fighting your thoughts, you started practicing something different? Not suppressing your thoughts, not desperately trying to make your mind completely blank, but practicing the ability to notice a thought without automatically following it. Here's a simple exercise. Sit somewhere comfortable, take a slow breath, and for the next few minutes, simply pay attention to what's happening in your mind. A thought appears, maybe it's, what if something goes wrong? Don't fight it. Don't argue with it. Don't try to solve it. Simply notice, I'm having a worried thought. Then gently bring your attention back to your breathing. Another thought appears. Notice it and return. Another thought, notice it, return. And here's the important part. Every return is a repetition. You're practicing. You're teaching your attention that it doesn't have to automatically follow every thought that appears, and it only gets easier every time. At first, this might feel incredibly difficult. You might think you're doing it wrong. Your mind might wander every few seconds. That's okay. In fact, that's the exercise. If your mind wanders 50 times and you bring it back 50 times, you've just practiced bringing your attention back 50 times. Imagine someone learning to play an instrument. They don't become good because they played perfectly on day one. They improve because they practice. Your brain is no different. You don't need to have a perfectly peaceful mind. You need to practice returning to the present. And slowly, that practice can become easier. You may begin noticing thoughts without immediately reacting to them. You may catch yourself worrying and realize, wait, I don't have to go down this rabbit hole. You may begin creating a little space between a thought and your reaction to it. And that space can be incredibly powerful because a thought is not automatically a fact. A thought is not automatically a prediction. And a thought certainly isn't automatically a command. So ask yourself, what would your life feel like if every thought didn't have the power to control your emotions? What would happen if you could experience an uncomfortable thought without immediately trying to escape it? What if you could sit quietly without needing your mind to be completely silent? And what if, instead of spending years fighting your own mind, you started training it, not perfectly, not overnight, but one repetition at a time. 5 minutes today, 5 minutes tomorrow, then again the next day. Because changing your mental habits isn't about winning one giant battle. It's about creating hundreds of tiny repetitions. And remember, if you're struggling with severe anxiety, depression, intrusive thoughts, trauma, or another mental health condition, this kind of practice can be a useful complement to professional support, but it shouldn't be treated as a replacement for appropriate care. You're not your thoughts. You are the person who can notice them, choose how to respond, and keep practicing. And perhaps the most hopeful part is this. Your mind doesn't have to stay exactly the way it is today. With practice, patience, and the right support, you can learn new ways of responding. One breath, one thought, one repetition at a time.